no. I tried my best, I really did.
There, Myrtha, you did. Now you need to take it easy. You're gonna be just fine.
Sugar Plum.
Yes, it's me.
So, I failed anyway, and this is my punishment. You put me back down to the size of a rat.
This was just a measure to make it easier to be sure you were with someone when you woke up. I shrunk you for your own safety, so one of us could be with you at all times.
How are you doing?
Where am I?
You're in recovery at Mission HQ. My name is Rabadash. You, my friend, had a very close call with some scary ghost-type things, but they won't be bothering you or anyone else again.
You're lucky they didn't get you too. How did you manage to find me?
It wasn't me who found you. I'm sure those Willis would have made short work of me, and I never would have had a chance out there. The good folks here at Mission HQ found you. Someone revived you, and you were brought here to recover. My friend Emmett and I have been seeing to you while you slept.
I've never been so scared in all my life.
I don't blame you.
Myrtha did succeed, and Hilarion appeared in the water as Myrtha collapsed from exhaustion from the dancing. Pippi swam out and brought him to shore, and though Myrtha was exhausted, she crawled and rolled her way over toward the seemingly lifeless body and touched him with her scepter. Then she fell into a deep slumber. Pippi tried CPR and saw no change, but we took Hilarion along with Myrtha to a hospital anyway, where they were treated, and miraculously, Hilarion was revived. They were released, but needed more rest. They have been resting at Mission HQ since. NT took care of all the other Willies. They have been obliterated, except for Zulma and Moina, who left in the middle of the dancing, and they never returned to either help us out or get their comeuppance from NT.
Gradually, everyone assembled in the meeting area at Mission HQ. First to join Sugar Plum, Myrtha and Queen Lillian was Jessica Smith. But she still had a way to go before she was ready to forgive Myrtha or accept that she really was sorry for what she had done. Sugar Plum Fairy hadn't restored Myrtha to her normal size yet.
Well, if it isn't little Myrtha.
Jessica!
I know you don't like me, Jessica, but I really did try to undo the damage I caused, and it was not a day at the beach.
What was it like for you?
The music and lyrics condemned me with every step. My heart pounded, my head throbbed, and that was before the exhaustion kicked in. Then everything about me grew so heavy and clumsy. My throat became parched, and I felt more and more sorry for Hilarion because that was what I had put him through. I honestly don't know how or why I let myself get so screwed up that I wanted to inflict this on every man I came across, just because one person hurt me so long ago. You are lucky you don't have to live with that on your conscience, Jessica.
Myrtha lost the fight to keep her tears back. Seeing this, Giselle was more sympathetic.
I am sorry you had to go through that. I know it was necessary for you to help bring Hilarion back, and also for you to experience what it felt like so you'd learn compassion. But it gave me no pleasure seeing you suffer.
Pippi came in as Queen Lillian was speaking, and she was troubled by Myrtha's state of mind.
We knew it would be hard on you to an extreme, but we would never try to kill you.
And that makes me even more ashamed of myself. I almost wish I didn't wake up. I didn't start out so heartless. I remember back when I was a kid, I wasn't like that. I don't know how or why I changed, but changing back really hurts.
That's what we were afraid of, and why Sugar Plum shrunk you again. We didn't want you to harm yourself.
Even Ocean was moved to try offering some comfort.
Myrtha, I regret things I've said and done in the past too. But as much as that sucks, it's still better than not changing or killing yourself.
Just then, who should walk in but Hilarion? He was looking 100 times better than he had when he was released from the hospital. A good rest does a person wonders. He smiled at the group assembled.
Hey everyone, wow. I remember you, Queen Lillian, and Pippi. But who are all the others?
Myrtha winced and tried to make herself even smaller than she was already. Apparently, she did not wish to get noticed by Hilarion. It was Batilda who greeted him. She had come in a little while ago with Giselle.
Oh, heck.
Oh, hi, Hilarion. You and I've met before. I'm Batilda, and that's Ocean. We're glad you are doing okay. Welcome here. That's Sugar Plum. That's Giselle. Well, I can't remember everyone offhand either. So you can all introduce yourselves, but Sugar Plum has someone in her arms who I think needs to say something to you.
Oh, who's that?
Hilarion, meet Myrtha.
Hi, Myrtha, what's up?
Strangely, Hilarion did not recognize her.
You don't remember me?
Whew. Should I?
You might if you saw her at her normal size.
Oh no. Please no, that would traumatize him.
Batilda grinned, pleasantly surprised at Myrta's concern.
Wow.
But Jessica remained unconvinced.
No kidding, Batilda. Is this for real?
Ugh, will you stop mocking me, Jessica? I can't feel much worse than I do already.
The little Furby, Elizabeth, was confused. Sugar Plum Fairy had to get a little firm with her and Jessica, and then Mika put her 2 cents in.
So which one is right, Jessica or Myrtha?
Elizabeth, Jessica, Myrtha helped save Hilarion after the Wilis danced him nearly to death. She is not putting on an act.
Yeah, I don't think those are crocodile tears.
What do you mean she helped save me? She had to be a lot bigger then.
She was. Hilarion, Myrtha, I want you to look right at each other. Do you recognize each other now?
I remember you, Hilarion. But you look different. You are curious, confused. But at least you don't look full of terror and anguish and suffering anymore. I am so sorry for everything, and I know no amount of apologies will ever make up for it or erase it from your mind.
More tears rolled down Myrta's cheeks.
I don't understand. You helped me. It was the Wilis who tried to kill me.
Should you tell him Myrtha or should I? Sugar Plum, maybe you should put her back to normal.
No, I have to face this sometime. Hilarion, I used to be one of the Wilis. I was there when you were forced to dance. I was their queen. It was on my orders. They dance every man to death that got in our way.
Hilarion gaped.
You did what? So what made you change your mind?
Now it was Myrta's turn to express anguish, and she was trembling all over.
You have every right to be angry, disgusted, repulsed, any and all negativeness at me. And I have no right to ask or expect your forgiveness.
Hold tight. I'm going to put you in this chair, Myrtha, and then restore you to normal.
Oh my gosh, it is you!
Now Hilarion recognized the Queen of the Wilis at last. The paleness, the face, and the scepter Sugar Plum placed in Myrta's hand. What was missing, however, was the cruel, cold expression. It was replaced by one of remorse, which looked so out of place on that face. Myrtha struggled for some time to speak, and finally she hung her head to sob. She let her scepter drop to the floor so she could hide her face in her hands. Hilarion looked on, aghast. He looked from Myrtha to Queen Lillian, then Sugar Plum, then Pippi, and back to Myrtha.
Please forgive me. I'm so sorry. I will never do anything like that to anyone again.
That was all she could manage. It was hard watching her anguish. Hilarion moved toward her and extended a hand hesitantly, then withdrew it, looking around at the others. It was then that he dared to look at Giselle, whom he had noticed earlier, but didn't want to make something out of that. Now he felt he needed to say something.
I thought I was dead out there, but you brought me back. Did you bring Giselle back too, or is this someone else?
No, Hilarion. The girl you have feelings for cannot be brought back. Her weak heart killed her.
Hilarion hung his head.
No, I killed her. If I hadn't been such a jealous fool, none of this would have happened.
Tears spilled from Hilarion's eyes. Everyone else looked at Hilarion and Myrtha sympathetically, then exchanged looks with one another. No one really knew what to do at the moment, other than ride this out. It was Batilda who finally spoke up.
If you hadn't exposed Albrecht's 2 timing then, I would have found out much later, probably after I would have got married to him. That doesn't mean what you did was right, but I think she would have died early anyway because of her heart condition. If it hadn't been you flushing Albrecht out, it would have been something else.
Yeah, if you want to get really specific, if Albert hadn't 2-timed, none of this would have happened. At least not where you're concerned. But there's still a chance that Myrtha could have danced any other young men to death and we might never have found out about it.
Jessica Marley Smith, if you don't stop hurling attitude at Myrtha, I will shrink you down next.
Oh, please do, Sugar Plum Fairy. That would be so much fun.
Ugh, no, not even for Elizabeth.
Ha 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 ha. The cat and mouse game is on. No, hey, get away from me. Elizabeth, don't you dare. Coochie, coo.
Help!
Ah, dang. Did you have to cut it so short?
Woo, thank goodness.
When Elizabeth and Jessica settled down, Sugar Plum spoke again.
Hilarion, Myrtha, don't be afraid to embrace or shake hands.
Both still looked hesitant, but it was clear they were desperate for some kind of comfort. It was Giselle who stood up from her place and walked over to them. She reached out and put her arms around both Hilarion and Myrtha. Giselle held them both until the tears were spent. Eventually, when all was calm.
So I guess you all know my story, but what about you, Myrtha? What made you hate men so much? Or if you don't want to talk about it, I understand.
I owe you that much, Hilarion, since, as Giselle pointed out, you never did me wrong. And this is something I never told the Wilis. All they knew was they hated men because they were hurt by them, and the same was true for me. I was not two-timed, but I had a rough childhood. I never knew my family. I was raised by people who I'd rather not think about. But there came this young man, and he was really nice to me. He was the only one I ever actually cared about. He told me at first that he was going to help me get away from my abuse. He said he would take me away and marry me, and I was in love with him. And then he broke his promise. One day, he told me he was leaving, and I was not going with him. He was so cold and unfeeling. I didn't know him anymore. I tried to go with him anyway. I was so desperate, and he was my lifeline, but we had a fight, and he said such hurtful things to me. He said he never loved me, and that I was not his type. He said wanting to marry me was all a lie. He said it was all play acting, just a game. Well, to me, it was not a game. The last thing I remember him shoving me. The next thing I remember was being alone in this moonlight shadowy place. No one came for me. That's how I wanted it. But if he were to find me, I wouldn't let him go. From then on, I would make a game of him or any other man to cross my path. He never came. Just more girls showed up who were betrayed by their boyfriends or lovers. I discovered that as their queen, I could command them, and they were fine with this. I also discovered the magic I could use as a Willy, and that it could only help me at night. I couldn't go out in daylight, and neither could the rest of them. We almost caught a man early on, but he got away. He must have told everyone else, because everyone who got into our space was quick to leave before we could catch them. All but Hilarion. And you know the rest.
That guy was a coward. You didn't deserve that treatment. I'm sorry you had so many bad experiences.
But he helped me turn into something that was no better.
Susan spoke up next.
I know my own experience was not as extreme, but I can relate. It is something I don't like to think about either. But there were a couple of times when I got to visit a special place that was in another dimension or world, and all of a sudden, the lion who was in charge there said I and my older brother couldn't come back because we're too old. Can you believe that? And it is not as if they didn't have adults living there. I don't like to talk about it, but my siblings and an uncle and aunt did, right until that train accident. That was the worst day of my life.
Oh, don't get me started on Aslan or My Little Pony or Star Wars. Ugh!
Then it was Ocean's turn to tell the curious newcomers all about those hideous things and the experiences associated with them. The conversation went on for a long time, with everyone becoming more at ease. But eventually, Hilarion and Myrtha needed to resume their rest. But the second chances had come, and they would not be squandered.